So we're going to do a half-blind review of a movie that I saw this time, which is not something that we usually do.
No, it's not.
So
Usually
I'm just
it's
going to
usually
start.
you're the one that's blind and I'm the one that's half.
Right, but I've seen a movie and it's bad, and I feel like I need to talk about it. And the way that I'm going to start this is I'm going to ask you what makes a good vampire movie.
You're going to ask me what makes a good vampire movie. All right. Well, I think one of the major conditions that a movie must meet in order for it to be a good vampire movie is it has to have vampires. That's a big one.
Nope, that's not it.
That's not it? No? Okay.
That's not it. No.
There there has to be some some sense on the part of the people who are haunted by said vampire.
No, no. Try again.
Okay. Hero?
No,
Um, a creepy location?
no.
Someone being bitten.
I mean, that doesn't that. So the answer that I was looking for is that they don't use the word vampire in the movie. Because after I watched this movie, I went online and I went looking at reviews for this movie, and I kept getting these bizarre 9 and 10-star reviews from people. And one of the main points that these people made in its favor was that they don't use the word vampire in the movie. And I was like, I was so disgusted that I figured I needed to get this across somehow, and this was the way I chose.
Now, I'm not going to say that a vampire movie can't be a vampire movie if it doesn't have the word vampire in it. I mean, I've seen vampires called other things than vampire in things
Oh, sure. No,
before.
no, no. My point is that people were saying they don't use the word vampire in the movie, as if this was like some kind of strong point in its favor.
I I don't get that at all.
No, it's just stupid.
So the reviews had nothing else. That was like the big thing that
I mean, they had a few other things, but this was the one thing that really leapt out at me as like, why is this even in your review? This is irrelevant.
I feel like if more than 7 people said that, that it was a psyop.
It was probably 5 or 6 at least, and I didn't look through all the reviews.
So it was really close to a psyop.
Yeah, it was probably a soy psyop.
Interesting. Really interesting. So what's this movie called
So
again?
this movie is called Near Dark, and the reason that I bought a copy of it on DVD is because I was watching, you know, Red Letter Media, right?
Yes. Yes, I do.
They recently did a review thing where they took all the different movies that John Carpenter directed for theaters that were released in theaters. There was, I think, 18 movies or maybe a little bit more than that in the list, and John Carpenter's movie Vampires came up like somewhere in like the middle or the middle to upper part of that list on both of the people who were doing the reviews. And one of the points they made was like, "Oh, you know what's a really good vampire movie?" And you know, the answer that they provided was, "Oh, Near Dark. Near Dark is a really good vampire movie." And so I was like, "Huh." I threw it in my Amazon wish list, and was like, "Oh, I'll pick up a copy sometime for $4 on DVD, no big deal." So I did that, and I watched it, and wow, if Near Dark is a good vampire movie, and John Carpenter's Vampires is in the middle of his list, John Carpenter is a much worse director than I thought he was, and Near Dark is not a good vampire movie.
Well, let's not sugarcoat it then. Lay it on me. What makes this a bad vampire movie?
Just about everything. Okay. So how should I begin? The
Tell
movie
me how
starts
the
out.
movie opens.
The movie opens with a young man in a truck stopping outside of like a convenience store, and he's talking to his friends, and then he sees a girl, and the girl walks out of an ice cream shop, with a cone of ice cream, and he goes over and flirts with her and convinces her to hang out with them for the evening, and so he like
All right, so
drives
just
her.
for the record, this is
Yeah,
it reminded me so much of the opening to Death Note, the scene where he writes the motorcycle dude's name in the Death Note for the
yeah,
first time,
yeah.
that I'm not going to be able to listen to the rest of your review of this movie without picturing Light Yagami. So go on.
Well, Imagine Light Yagami, only he dropped out of high school and lives in Oklahoma.
I can picture that.
Okay, so he's very creepily flirting with this girl, and I mean, the movie is advertised as a horror, vampire, thriller, comedy, something or other, and so you know that she's probably got something to do with vampires or something like that. But here's the deal: it's night, but it's not late. The ice cream store is still open when he picks her up. And then he drives her around in his truck for some indeterminate amount of time, and like they visit a place. They visit his house, and he has a horse there that he tries to show her, but the horse is afraid of her because she's a vampire. And then he creepily attempts to get her to make out with him, and he does, and she bites him just a little bit, and then she bolts out of the truck and runs down the street away because she says, "What time is it?" And then she runs away.
And this isn't a comedy.
No, it's not. Not really, no.
Okay, because this actually has all the makings of a great comedy so far.
I didn't laugh at all in the movie, so... well, no, there is one point where I went back, and we'll get to it. So she runs off, and I mean like dead sprint down the road, middle of nowhere, because supposedly dawn is coming. Now...
Like 10 minutes after the ice cream shop closed.
Yes,
okay.
Like 10 minutes after... I mean... If you're in Oklahoma, there's nowhere to drive that you're going to drive for the entire night without needing to get more gas. So, like, clearly he wasn't driving her around all night. It could not have been that.
And you can only spend so much time on a first date showing someone your house.
Yeah. So what happens next? What happens next is that he tries to start his car to go home, and his car won't start, so he starts to walk across a field to go home. And of course, as he's walking across the field, the sun starts to rise, and he starts to smoke and trip and fall, and he's clearly in a lot of distress and pain. He makes it most of the way home. His little sister sees him walking across the field, and she's like, "Daddy, something's wrong with Caleb." And Caleb's father is like, whatever, I'm sure he's fine. And then, out of nowhere, a camper, like a Winnebago, drives up, and people grab him and pull him into the Winnebago, and then the Winnebago drives away. And the daughter and the father are just standing there looking at it, basically, and they're like, "What just happened?"
The father's just like, whatever, it's okay.
I'm sure it's fine. No, I mean, they eventually go to the police.
I think I lost a sense of distance somewhere. So they were at his house, but then they left his house?
Yes, and they were just driving down this random road in the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
And then he started running across the field, and he made it almost all the way home before the sun rose. I don't know. It was the one of the themes of this movie is that time goes where the movie needs time to go.
Because that guy's Oklahomaing wrong. So he took this girl to his home, showed her his horse, but they didn't ride the horses. They instead got back in the truck and drove away, where he wouldn't have a horse if his truck broke down.
Right.
That's not how you Oklahoma.
That's not how you Oklahoma at all.
I bet he didn't even have a hat, did he?
No, I'm pretty sure he had a hat. Anyway. So, this Winnebago, they pick him up, they pull him in, and it turns out that it's a whole family of vampires. And this is the part that makes no sense. Yes, in Oklahoma. This is the part that makes no sense. They pull him in, and they're like, "We're going to kill you." And the girl is like, "No, don't kill him." And they're like, "No, we're going to kill him." And the person who's driving the Winnebago is also like, "Yeah, we should kill him." So why didn't the guy driving the Winnebago just leave him to burn?
Or drive over him.
Like
that's the part I don't get. Like they were in a Winnebago, they could have just hit him and kept going because...
I mean, he was already on fire from the fact that the sun was on him, so they didn't even need to do anything.
Wait, at the time that the dad was like, "Oh yeah, he's fine."
Yeah, that's what... Yes.
That sounds more like Oklahoma. Now I can buy into it a little better.
I mean, immersion is really what it's all about.
Yeah.
So the girl, whose name is May, like, convinces them not to kill him now. They're like, we'll give him a week, and we'll see if he can, learn the ropes in a week. And
Do we find out her motivation for not wanting to kill him?
I guess she loves him?
But she doesn't
Despite
offer
the
any
fact that he was-
actual reason to them as to why he should stay alive.
No reason other than he is one of them now, by way of her accidentally-ish almost biting him a little bit.
Oh my
But not
god.
actually killing him.
It's almost as bad as Mystery of the Druids.
It's pretty bad. Now, I will say that there are a couple of well-known faces among the vampires. There's the vampire father character is Lance Henriksen, with a very nice scar makeup, and the big brother vampire is what's his name? Bill Paxton, and Bill Paxton is absolutely chewing on the scene whenever he gets a chance. Which is kind of nice. I mean, he's always fun to watch.
Okay.
But okay. So
I don't know who either of those are, but that's okay. Go on.
Bill Paxton is Game Over Man, Game Over from Aliens, right?
Oh, okay.
And Lance Henriksen is Bishop from Aliens.
Oh.
There's a lot of people from Aliens in this movie. So they drive the Winnebago to a garage, and they go to sleep because it's daytime. Now, over the course of this entire day, the police don't apparently look for this Winnebago or manage to find it, despite the fact that it is sitting in a big garage that doesn't close. It's just open. And it must be fairly nearby.
These vampires don't sound like they've fortified their position in any way.
No, they're bad at it.
Ragtag does not cover the term.
No, they're more redneck than ragtag. So night falls, and they all wake up, and let's see what happens. So by nightfall, the father and the sister have gone looking for him because the police don't appear to be taking it seriously, even though it was a kid that got picked up by crazy people in a Winnebago.
All right, so the immersion isn't breaking yet. I mean, that still sounds like Oklahoma.
It's very Oklahoma, but the father and the daughter go looking for him. The kid, Caleb, he tries to run away. So he what does he do? He goes to a payphone and tries to call his dad collect, but his dad's not home because they're looking for him. And so he gives up after one phone call. Then he starts walking down the street until he finds a bus station. And he doesn't have enough money to pay for the bus ticket. And so a police officer stops him and asks him what drugs he's on. And he says, "I'm not on drugs, I need $3 more for the bus ticket." And the police officer gives him the $3 so he can get the bus ticket.
So
he gets on the bus.
He hits up a police officer after being kidnapped for $3 in bus fare?
Yes, as opposed to "help, I was kidnapped."
Yeah.
And I feel really sick right now. And the "I feel really sick right now" you'd think is going to be a big problem, right? Because usually vampire movies, the illness of being a vampire is a big deal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm just putting that there. You can just think about that.
Feeling really sick tends to lead to feeling really hungry.
Hungry, sick. You expect a lot of things to happen, and none of them do. So he gets on the bus, and the bus is driving down the road, and he gets sick on the bus, and he's like, "Stop the bus! I need to get out of the bus." And they let him out of the bus, and he runs back to. Somehow he's been on the bus for some long period of time, but he manages to run back to the Winnebago people, not home. Yeah. So, like I said, time does whatever time wants in this world.
So at any time, did he stop and pull out the bus map and look at it and be like, "This just goes in a circle"?
No. I mean, he got on the bus that was going from the town where the Winnebago had stopped to the town where his family was, and he was on the bus for a significant period of time. But he didn't run home. He ran to the Winnebago people.
And during all this time, somewhere out there, he has a father and a sister that are walking around with a picture of him going, "Have you seen this boy?"
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So he runs back to the Winnebago people, and May is there, and she lets him drink some of her blood. And
What?
so yeah. And so then another day passes, and then the next night they're like, he needs to learn to kill so that he can feed. And so this is another part of the movie where it could have been really interesting, right? Like, for instance, you see the father and mother vampires, quote unquote, driving down the road, and there's a hitchhiker, and they pick up the hitchhiker, and it turns out the hitchhiker has a friend, and they're like trying to rob them. And so the implication is that these vampires are, on some level doing a service by taking out people who would harm or kill other people, possibly, right? There's that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And so, but like, you'd think you'd get some kind of a scene where like Lance Henriksen says, "Oh, you're not going to look very good with your face ripped off," but then they just cut away. Yeah, they just cut away. They don't show any of that. So, and you'd think, well, maybe they didn't want to have the gory scenes in the movie, but we'll just set that aside for the moment. But then you're like, okay, maybe they're actually like doing their best, and like they're hunted, but they're not like super evil. But then another one of the vampires who is like in a little kid body, but obviously is like a very old man. The way that he gets his meal for the night is he pretends to fall off his bike, and then he waits for someone to try to help him, and then he kills that person.
I like the idea of he just falls off his bike in the middle of nowhere and then just sits there like holding his knee, waiting for someone to show up.
That is effectively what the movie appeared to show.
So
yes.
He didn't do this in a very public place. He didn't do this where people might actually pass, just like in a field somewhere.
I mean, someone did pass, and someone was there, but like there was not any other people around. It's one of those things where if you do it where there's too many people around, obviously you draw attention to yourself. But if you do it where there's no one around, then it just doesn't work.
I just like to think there's some rank incompetence there where he's just like, there's no one around, and he just falls off his bike and sits there clutching his knee in pain and wondering where everyone is.
It sure was close to that. Let's see. I don't remember what Bill Paxton Vampire does, but it wasn't important or interesting.
Or face ripping.
No. And let's see. There's May and Caleb. They hitchhike, and a trucker picks them up, and May tries to get Caleb to kill the trucker while they're driving. But yeah, and but that doesn't happen. So instead, Caleb pretends or maybe is ill, and he gets out of the truck, and then May kills the trucker while they're stopped. Now, it's important to note that during the scene with the trucker, where May is trying to get Caleb to kill the trucker is explaining to Caleb how to stop a semi-truck. That's all. For now. Okay, so
there's
Caleb
a little
has
bit
failed
of
again.
unsolicited advice for you. If you ever need to stop one of these things, especially if you're in the middle of driving, and especially if you're not the one in the driver's seat, there's a few things you need to know.
Well, it's not so much that as, hey, you need to tell the trailer to stop before you tell the cab to stop. Because if you don't do that, the trailer will hit the cab, and you will be very dead.
Did Caleb solicit this advice?
No, it was just like, here's how you stop a semi-truck.
I have been on the road for 28 hours straight. I just feel like talking.
Well, he did pick up the hitchhikers. What else is he going to do?
I mean, that's why you pick them up. To make them listen to your personal
Inane
opinions
stories
on old
and
anime.
Ideas on how to stop trucks.
Yes.
So now everybody's angry.
Hang on, do you think that's a thing that like truck drivers go through? Do they all have their moment of, well, this will be a captive audience. I'll pick this person up.
I mean, that's what the movie implies. Okay, so everybody's angry at Caleb now because Caleb hasn't killed anybody yet. And so another day passes. Oh, by the way, they because the Winnebago has been seen, they burn the Winnebago and steal a pickup truck.
How does that help?
Well, they apparently they put aluminum foil on the inside windows of the pickup truck to make it so the sun can't get in, and then they use black spray paint as well.
Okay, what I meant when I said how does that help is if they think that they're being followed in a Winnebago that someone has witnessed a kidnapping in being involved somewhere with the Winnebago, how did they think
Yeah.
that the solution to the Winnebago being a problem was to set fire to the Winnebago, giving a clear indication of where its position might be, and then to steal another truck where someone is clearly going to be like, yeah, my truck was stolen, here's a description?
That is an excellent question. So the next day, they're like, "This is your last chance, Caleb. If you don't kill someone tonight, we're gonna kill you." And so they go to a bar, and they bust into the bar, and they start acting very suspiciously and weirdly. And the people in the bar, their response is not to like, "Cool, I'm out," or anything like that. Oh no, their response is to stand there and watch as these people bust in and start acting very suspiciously. So, step one, Caleb and Bill Paxton go to the bar and they start picking a fight with some guy who's just sitting at the bar. And Caleb doesn't really do any of the fight picking. It's all Bill Paxton chewing the scenery and making, rude jokes and insults and knocking the guy's drink over and things like that.
So just for the record, this is like Oklahoma, not like Oklahoma, Ireland or something?
Correct.
Okay, so this is probably not the wisest decision they could have made.
Well, you'd think, right? But apparently this guy is like really, 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 really restraining himself. And so finally, Bill Paxton does something, and he yells something, and he manages to piss this guy off enough that the guy takes a swing at him. But what Bill Paxton does is he picks up Caleb and uses him as a human/vampire shield as the guy slugs Caleb instead of Bill Paxton. And the guy seems to not care that he's punching the wrong person. He just keeps punching Caleb over and over again. So I'm like, this is a little strange. If I was anyone in the bar at this point, I would be walking out, right? Or I would have walked out earlier. But no one does.
What year does this movie take place in?
Well, the movie was made in the late 80s.
And it's a bar in Oklahoma.
Yeah, it's a bar in Oklahoma.
I mean, yeah, walking out is definitely an option. I could see about 6 or 7 people pulling guns on him.
Yeah, that doesn't quite happen yet. So, okay. So Caleb gets punched a couple times, and now Caleb is angry at the guy who was punching him, and not Bill Paxton who was pulling him into the punches. So he punches the guy, and apparently he's got super strength because he's a vampire. Woo! And the guy goes flying, and he hits the pool table, and he falls over, and he's unconscious. Then the other vampires call the waitress over and ask her to bring a beer and a glass, and she does this despite everything else going on. And how does this work?
Well, it works
She
because
brings
the
the beer-
vampires are incompetent and the people of Oklahoma are apparently oblivious.
More incompetent. No, so she brings over a glass and a beer, and then the quote unquote wife vampire comes up behind her with a knife and slits her throat, and then they put her blood in the glass so that they can drink it.
Meanwhile, there's like a
And
group of guys at the next table over, like, well, things are getting weird in here, aren't they?
there's not that many people in the bar, but there's enough that this is still a little funky. Someone else walks up to them to try to stop them, and the little kid vampire shoots him in the back like 5 or 6 times. He basically has a little snub-nosed revolver, and he unloads the whole thing into the guy's back.
Are people leaving the bar yet?
No. Then Bill Paxton. Then Bill Paxton vampire.
What is going on in this? I'm picturing someone in a top hat and a monocle, like, good heavens, things have really taken a turn for the worst. And then he sips his tea.
Yeah, basically. There's another guy who's standing there near the pool table, and Bill Paxton starts to bother him. And the guy's like, don't mess with me, and he pulls a knife. And then Bill Paxton kills him and complains that he has a beard when he tries to suck his blood from his neck that is not hairy.
Are you sure this isn't a fever dream you had?
No, this is I can mail you the DVD if you want.
Like, you see someone get punched across the room, then you see someone get their throat slit, and you see people drinking it, and then you see some kid unload into a person's body with a revolver, and you pull a knife and say, "Don't mess with me."
Yes, that's correct. That is what happened in the movie. So Bill Paxton drinks like very little of the guy's blood who was like, "Don't mess with me." Now finally there's only one person left in the bar, and it's like a, probably just barely old.
Well, I'm not leaving. That would just be disrespectful to everyone else who stayed.
Well, he's just standing there. I don't know why he's just standing there. Because May goes up to him and starts to like dance with him, and like she's like, he's clearly terrified. And she's like, "Oh, don't worry. We're going to, we're totally going to kill you." And Caleb is like, "No, I'll do it." And so she lets go of him, and Caleb starts to walk toward him. And finally, this guy... Oh, wait. No, hold on. I missed something. No, you're right. I missed something. Oh, I missed something important.
What did you miss that's important?
The bartender.
Is the bartender important?
Yeah.
Is anything in this movie important?
Well, okay, no. So the bartender has a shotgun, a double-barreled shotgun behind the bar, and he takes it feels like 5 minutes to load 2 rounds into this shotgun.
This is not Oklahoma.
No, it's not. He shoots Caleb twice in the gut, and Caleb's like, "I'm not dead. This doesn't even really hurt that much." Woo! And everybody cheers. The whole vampire family cheers. And then this guy fumbles trying to get 2 more rounds into the shotgun, and then they kill him too.
I mean, Oklahoma in the 1980s, that shotgun is sitting behind the bar already loaded.
That's what I thought, first off. Like, why is this thing not already loaded? Number 2 is like, why is it not oiled so you can actually put ammunition into it when you need it?
There weren't even laws against having the thing loaded back then.
Yeah, well, probably not still in Oklahoma. I mean, any reasonable place, honestly. But no. So now there's just this one kid, barely old enough to drink. He's terrified. Caleb's walking up to him like, "I'm going to kill you." Finally, the kid decides to jump out a window and run away. So Caleb chases him out the window. And Caleb catches him, and the kid says, "Please," and Caleb lets him go, and he runs off. And then the rest of the family, has their truck, or no, it's a van. They stole a van. They got rid of their truck, and they stole a van now. And they're like, "Now we're going to kill you because you didn't kill him, and he's going to bring down the heat on us." So what do you think they do?
Set fire to the bar and steal a truck.
Well, they stole the van and they set fire to the to the bar. That's correct.
Wait, did they?
Oh yeah. While Caleb is chasing young man,
because I was just making a joke about how they set fire to the Winnebago and then stole a truck.
Yeah, no, they set fire.
So they have a modus operandi.
Yeah, and then they steal a van, and so they drive up in the van. They pick Caleb up. And then what do they do after they pick Caleb up in the van with the bar on fire?
Do donuts in a police parking lot.
Ooh, you're close.
How can I be? How can I be close? That's the most ridiculous thing to do. There should be nowhere. That should be the last thing that should be close to anything that they should be doing.
They go to a motel.
Right.
They go to a motel nearby, and Lance Henriksen, Vampire Man, walks in and asks the guy to rent his bungalow and hands him money. And the guy's like, haven't I seen you before? And he's like, yeah, I come through here once every 50 years or so. And the guy's like, yeah, whatever. And they walk out and they go to sleep in this bungalow, this dirty, filthy bungalow. And wouldn't you know, around the time that morning comes, the police show up. In fact, they have the guy that ran away with them in the car for some reason.
Okay, now I'm just confused because the vampires clearly left a trail, but the reason that the police found them was because some guy that ran away from them that couldn't possibly have known what motel they went to knew where to bring the police?
Yes.
Oklahoma's a trip.
It may be that the motel owner called the police and they put two and two together, but I'm not really interested in giving this movie the benefit of any doubt.
I mean, I don't know. Like, when the vampires showed up, were they like covered in blood that they had been drinking, or did they smell of smoke or anything?
Yes. No, they don't. They never clean themselves up after these escapades.
Okay, so this is entirely the vampires' fault.
Oh yeah, pretty much. In fact, more so. But I'll get to that in a minute. So
it's like, hey, is this the police? Yes. I just had a guy come in here and get a room for 12. He was covered in blood, and there's a bar burning down the road.
And he didn't want to let the sun touch him. Well, no, it's not just that. It's like, oh, and he didn't want to let the sunlight touch him. Oh, actually, I need to talk about this. So he walks into the room and rings the bell, and the guy comes forward, and he hands him the key, and he doesn't want to grab the key because the key is kind of in the light, the sunlight that's coming in through the window.
Which he has to walk outside to get to the room.
You got it in one, yes. Because he immediately turns in the same direction that the sunlight was streaming in through the window, opens the door, and walks out with no ill effects.
Okay.
So they're all asleep in the bungalow, and the police show up, and the police apparently are incapable of communicating via radio. They only decided to bring 2 cars and 4 guys, and one of the guys decided that what he's going to do is he's going to stand outside the door of this heavily armed and dangerous group of outlaws, as far as they know, and tell them that this is the police, come out, we have you surrounded, without body armor on.
Huh.
So,
how many did you say? Oh, there's like 12 of them. Okay, we're gonna get our 4 best guys. Donuts, Chalky, One Eye, let's go.
No, I mean, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think 6 vampires? A half dozen.
Still,
Bill Paxton picks up a shotgun and shoots the cop through the door, thereby taking out one of the, count them, 4 cops that were brought along for this very dangerous job.
Now, to be fair, Oklahoma, 1980s, cops weren't usually wearing body armor. However, if someone shows up and is like, yeah, they slit someone's throat, shot someone, one of them punched a guy across a bar, you would think that they would suit up just a little bit before sending...
At least the guy who's at the door would. Yes. So this gives us the one cool shot in the whole movie. I'm going to describe it to you. Bill Paxton points the shotgun at the door, pulls the trigger, the shotgun goes off, it bursts a hole in the door, it cuts to the police officer, you see his guts explode, and then it cuts right to Bill Paxton because somehow the sunlight comes directly in on a horizontal to hit Bill Paxton in the stomach and cause him to fall down as if he has shot himself with a shotgun. The only memorable shot in the whole movie. Now, what the vampire family is doing is they are shooting randomly out through the walls as the police shoot in through the walls. And so this goes on for a while. This goes on for way too long. And,
Did they do a slow motion scene anywhere in it?
Yes.
That's what I was
little
afraid
later.
of.
It's coming up. Because what they need to do, clearly, is they need to escape. And how are they going to escape? Well, they need to get to the van, which for some reason they parked like 50 meters away from the door to their bungalow.
With nothing to stop them but the ever-encroaching death of sunlight.
Yes. So what happens is that Caleb volunteers to put a blanket over his head and go get the van.
I don't know if I can go on. This is
we're only
describing
about
to me you are describing to me the worst vampire movie in the world, while at the same time describing to me the greatest vampire comedy in the world.
Yeah, I mean, all it needs is yakety sax, and it would be right there.
What are we gonna do? I've got a blanket. How come nobody ever thought of that?
We're not to the part yet that makes this whole movie an exercise in futility. That part's coming up. Okay. So Caleb volunteers to put a blanket over his head and run to the van. He runs to the van, and the police shoot him many times, but that doesn't slow him down because he's a magic vampire. What the police don't do is they don't shoot the van at all, at any point. So he gets into the van, he drives the van in through the wall of the bungalow. Still, the police don't shoot the van. Everyone gets into the van, and then they drive away. And by that point, all the police officers have been shot to the point where there's no one left to give chase. And apparently they didn't call for backup in the 10 minutes of this whole rigmarole.
I mean, it's Oklahoma. That was probably everyone they had.
I mean, maybe. They never said that in the movie. And, you'd expect that they would have...
All right, at what point is Caleb forced to eat his own family?
I mean, the vampire family or the real family?
The real family.
Oh, he doesn't have to eat.
That doesn't happen?
And we'll get there.
I felt like it was getting there.
Okay. So now that they've run off in this van, what is the next thing that they should do?
Well, in mid-drive, they should set fire to the van and then leap to another vehicle to steal. That's my close. Initial thought.
Very close.
Based on what these vampires have taught me so far, I would think that would be the next logical step. But they should definitely get somewhere where they are safe, guarded from the sunlight, and fortified against the inevitable manhunt that's going to happen.
Yeah, that's not what they do. What they do is they actually go to another motel.
Okay, the first thing that's wrong with that...
They get a room at the other motel.
It's almost like their battle plan is slowly evolving. Like they've graduated from burn something, steal car, to jump from motel to motel. It's like the Pokemon version of vampires.
So they go to a motel and they wait for nightfall. And night comes, and it's like just barely the sunset. And it turns out that coincidentally, this... Oh, by the way, there's this scene where everybody's like, yeah, you're okay, Caleb. You risked your something to get the van for us. There's this whole scene where they're like, now they accept him. Well, I believe that there's a line from Bishop Vampire that is, you bought yourself some more time. So they go to this motel. Night falls. Just barely nightfall. Like sun just went down. Coincidentally, this is the same motel that Caleb's real family happens to be staying at that night.
All right.
So the little kid vampire, who's actually a very old man, creepily goes out and finds Caleb's sister at a vending machine. She's getting a Coca-Cola.
Why did I know it was a vending machine? Oh, because it's a 1980s. Yeah, never mind.
Yeah. So he says, he says something along the lines of
just as a side note for anyone that
sure,
didn't grow up in the '80s or see a lot of these '80s movies. That was a regular meeting place for lots of people in movies, vending machines, especially vending
yeah,
machines at motels.
yeah,
Go back and watch some movies. You pick 5 movies, you'll see it at least 3 times.
at least. So so he starts creepily flirting with the 9 or 10 year old sister of Caleb, and despite the fact that she and her father are searching for a group of people that kidnapped their son/brother, her response to him saying something about along the lines of like, "Oh, you're out here pretty late by yourself." Her response is, "I do what I want when I want."
All right. Best policy, I guess.
I guess, especially when you're looking for kidnappers.
I get a Diet
So
Coke from the vending machine when I want.
so little kid vampire invites her to their room to watch TV, and she says, "Sure, why not?" And she gets there, and Caleb had stepped out for a
What
minute.
time
He's
of
not
night
there
is
right now.
this?
So we're getting there. They turn on the TV. They turn on the TV, and you see the going off the air thing. The picture of the White House and the flag and that stuff. You see that for a minute, and then you get static. And so you know that it's like midnight. It's not 4 in the morning. It's not 5 in the morning. It's not 6 in the morning.
Well, it's 1 a.m. You want to watch Gummy Bears?
It's midnight or 1 a.m. Now this TV doesn't get gummy bears. This TV doesn't get anything. So Kid Vampire is like, hey, we're going to add, clearly he's scheming to add her to the vampire family. But then Caleb walks in, and she sees him, and she's like, Caleb, it's you. We found you. I found you. We've been looking for you. And he's like, no, you can't kill her. Don't kill her. Let her go. And there's a bit of tension that's going on. And then suddenly Caleb's dad bursts into the room. And I'm not sure how he found... Oh, no, what happened? They asked her what room she was staying in. And so I think they go and get her dad. So they bring him in. And there's this tense scene where, like, they're like, yeah, we're going to kill them both, or we're going to turn them both, or we're going to do something. And Caleb's like, no, let him go, let him go, let him go. And then something happens, I forget, but it gives them an opening. And little girl runs and opens the door, and suddenly daylight streams in through the door.
And this is midnight when television's going off the air.
It can't have been, let's say that the television station went off the air at 1 a.m., then it can't be later than 1:10. Anyway.
So this is like Oklahoma on planet Serpo or something.
The planet that turns it spinning around in the opposite direction sometimes for no reason.
Woo!
Just wait for the centrifugal force. It's a blast! So daylight streams in, and it gives them all an opportunity, and Caleb and the father and the daughter all escape. And Caleb is burning. He's in terrible agony. He's on fire. But they manage to get him into the back seat of his dad's veterinarian truck and drive him home. Now, you'd think that there would be some kind of, problem with this.
Well, for starters, does everyone in Oklahoma have, sunblocked or sun-tinted windows, or what? How is this working?
No. He had... Well, so... so, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter that he's burning... Okay, so... Please tell me that someone somewhere in the background of this movie has all of these vampires convinced that sunlight is harmful to them. He just gaslit these vampires into thinking they'll die in sunlight, but really they'll be fine. And so that's why there's all these contradictions where they believe it, but they forget sometimes that they can't walk in sunlight, so they just do and they don't notice.
No, it's dumber than that.
It's dumber than that. That's okay. How's it dumber than that?
They take him home, and he's like, I don't know what I've become, but I'm not human anymore. And then they put him in a garage that is like a tin garage. It's all enclosed. And then we get a 2-minute scene of Caleb's dad giving him a blood transfusion, and then he's cured.
You know what? Fine.
That's what I said. I actually rewinded the movie to be like, wait, did I miss a scene where like they knew that he needed a blood transfusion, or they knew that he was a bloodsucker? Because he doesn't mention any of this to any of them at all.
Well, from what you told me,
And
he
like,
just says, "I don't know what I've become," and so he doesn't tell them anything about what he's done, and there's no indication that he's a vampire. It's just like, well, clearly you need a
correct.
blood transfusion.
From a veterinarian, yes.
To be fair, we don't know if that's just like we don't know if that's just his dad. Like growing up, every time they were sick, he just gave them a blood transfusion.
Okay, you've added a meta story to this story that makes it actually funny now. It's like that episode of The Simpsons where they had to get teachers from like and that there was that old guy who's like, yeah, you do this, that's a paddling. You do this, that's a paddling. That's a blood transfusion. You do this, that's a blood transfusion. It's like, no, Dad, I already have too much iron in my body. I'm dying. Yup, complaining about the blood transfusions? That's a blood transfusion. No, it just perfectly cures him 100% in like less than a day.
So why don't the other vampires do this?
That's an excellent question. So, going on.
Oh, wait, they actually discussed this.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, it's never... Like I said, I had to rewind the movie to be like, wait, did I miss a scene where they're like, we can fix... I can fix this? No, remember that this is in a world where apparently the word vampire doesn't exist. So there's no way for him to succinctly explain what he is to his father.
So there's like no reason they could even guess that he would need a blood transfusion.
There's no reason to guess that it would even help because these people have been drinking blood from people every night.
So my idea about their dad is the only thing that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay. This could have been such a great comedy.
You've added meta to the story that makes it actually make sense. Yeah. So what do you think that Caleb and his family do now that they have escaped from angry vampires and have cured Caleb of vampirism?
Set fire to their home, steal a truck, and drive off into the sunset.
Oh man, you're close.
I can't possibly be close.
No, what they do... Well, the effect is the same in the long run. What they do is they sit at their house with the windows open and the doors unlocked until the vampires come and take the daughter. And also slash all their tires. And also they do something to the father, but I don't think it kills him. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure they don't kill the father, but they do they hurt him or something. So yeah, they quote unquote set fire to the trucks because they slashed the tires. Now the trucks are inoperable. They attacked the house. And the house wasn't defended, or the people didn't try to run away from the house, or anything like that. No, none of that. They just sit there and they're like, "Yep, sure is nice to not be a vampire anymore." And then the daughter gets kidnapped. But they don't bite the daughter, not immediately, because that would make too much sense. No. What they do is they I don't know what they do actually. I'm having trouble remembering the details of the movie, and I saw it this week.
What details?
What happens instead? Well, there's a lot of Bill Paxton acting that is actually kind of fun to watch, just because he was a good guy. But like, okay, so what happens now is that Caleb gets on his horse and walks into and rides the horse into town, and town is apparently like completely empty. And right here, I was like, oh, is this where they're gonna pull like a Shiki on me, where like the whole town is turned and the whole town has been turned since Caleb got bit, or what, and no, it's just no. That he just has a confrontation with the Bill Paxton vampire, and then it just so happens that a truck driver is driving through that road at that time.
Oh Caleb my God!
Jumps into the truck and tells the truck driver to help him, and the truck driver says no, and tries to push him out of the truck. But then Bill Paxton shoots the truck driver in the head, which allows
lucky Caleb
to grab the wheel of the truck and run over Bill Paxton vampire. Except he doesn't run over Bill Paxton Vampire because Bill Paxton Vampire climbs onto the hood of the truck and starts peeling it apart with his hands and pulling like tubes and stuff out of it.
Does Caleb give a monologue? Is he like, I met a man once, a wise man. He drove a truck. He taught me a few things.
No, unfortunately, all that Caleb does is stop the truck the wrong way, and since it's a fuel truck, the trailer is full of gasoline or something, and it pulls forward and it catches the whole thing on fire, and Bill Paxton Vampire dies.
So a truck does catch fire.
Yes, a gas truck. It's a good explosion.
I felt like the slashing the tires thing was a bit of a cop out after we'd come this far. So that makes up for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Then they're like, okay, now we got to find the rest of the vampire family. We got to get the sister back. And so Caleb goes, and there's an action scene that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. That ends up with the daughter getting out of the car that she was held in for a while and running to Caleb. And then the little kid vampire tries to run at them, but the sun is up, so the little kid vampire catches on fire. And then, what do you think happens next?
Law enforcement, which has diligently been tracking this series of bizarre fires and crimes, suddenly shows up and saves the day.
No, the little kid vampire explodes.
Near the gasoline truck. Or no, the truck already
No.
exploded.
This is in the daytime. This is like hours later. I don't know why they haven't bitten this girl yet. But anyway.
Wait. So they're driving around in the daytime now?
Well, I think that they were forced to do so by the fact that they were being pursued by Caleb or something.
In another car that was stolen that had sun-tinted windows, no doubt.
Yeah, it was a station wagon, and there's a scene of them like trying to like spray paint the windows black from the inside.
But you can't just spray paint windows black from the inside and then jump in and drive and think you're safe from the sunlight, because what you're not safe from at that point is not being able to see the road.
Well, so they solve that. They leave a little slit for them to look through,
and for sunlight to come in through because it's viscous.
They didn't think of that. Anyway, after
why are my eyes burning?
Explodes, after the little kid vampire
driving
explodes,
is hard.
the other vampires that are still remaining, except for May, decide that they give up, and so they also burn and explode.
There were so many other options. First off, didn't any of them think to ask, hey, why is Caleb able to hang out in the sunlight now? And second off, how did that happen? It's like, after all of this, we assume that they're much older than they actually look, because the one vampire's been around for a while. And so now they're just like...
There's a fun line where Bishop Vampire's like... where someone asks Bishop Vampire how old he is. He's like, well, I fought for the South and we lost.
Okay. Who lost, the vampires or the South?
Both.
Well, I mean, I feel like he was a detriment to whatever regiment he was in.
Almost certainly, yes.
So what do we do now? Well, we could set fire to our horses. Follow me on this.
Stay with me.
I just don't get where the let's just give up thing comes from after all that. It's like you are now in the desperate situation of driving a car with slits carved out so you can burn your eyeballs out, and after all of this, with a hostage...
Oh, no. It's not... They didn't have enough stuff to actually block the light from the car. So the light just gets into the car, and they're like, oh, we give up.
Oh, okay.
And then they explode.
Well, that makes more sense.
Yeah. So then they take May, and they give her a blood transfusion, and happy ending.
But she was a bad guy.
Yeah, but she's cute, and Caleb likes her.
But there was nothing likable about her. She immediately runs off after turning him into a vampire.
Look, Caleb thinks she's cute. That's all that matters. And then she got a blood transfusion.
How is that relationship even going to work? It's like, hey, you remember how we met? Remember that
You
time
tried
that
to
you
kill
just
me.
offed that truck driver trying to get me to eat him? Man, that was wild.
Yeah, fun times. I'm sure that that won't. I'm sure that the statute of limitations has run out on that one all by now.
Or how we burned all of the people that you've known your whole life alive. Yeah, that's yeah.
Or how we are the only two living people that were the witnesses of a guy driving a gas truck getting shot in the head and then exploding in the middle of a town that we live near.
It's okay. No one's ever going to ask questions about that because apparently nobody has been keeping an eye on anything that's going on in Oklahoma.
Oh no, it's like I said, she gets a blood transfusion, happy ending, credits roll.
I feel like the CIA
And
covered this one up with the Oklahoma City bombing.
could be, could
That's
be.
that's what happened here. That's it's just like we have all these crazy things people are talking about, all these crimes. Everyone wants answers. We have no idea what's going on because for some reason nobody was looking into it when three bars and a motel caught fire. I don't know why. Let's just have some guy blow up a building and everyone will focus on that and then we can just brush this under the rug.
Yep.
There you go. I've solved it.
But it's you have to remember that this is a good movie because they never say the word
Yeah,
vampire.
well, I can make a technical documentary about light bulbs, but if I never use the word tungsten, that isn't going to make it entertaining.
What's your point?
I don't know. I no relation to anything that you were saying there. I just
And so I feel like the only really proper way to end this review, where I have made a point to say the word vampire as many times as I can fit in the word vampire, is to finish this review with a very specific word.
what is this word?
Don't watch Near Dawn. No spaces.
What about the apostrophe?
Near Dark. Sorry, I forgot the name of the movie.
But the apostrophe, because
The apostrophe's not a space.
but it'll be kind of a thorn in my side seeing it. Can we leave the apostrophe out?
We can leave the apostrophe out.
Dontwatchneardark. That's the
Don't
word.
watch Near Dark.
We'll
There
get
we go.
shirts that say it.
This is the movie. No, you know what? Don't watch Near Dark.
Wait, did you stop recording?